We good? We're good? Hey guys, how's it been? Another week, another live stream. It's good to see you guys here. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me tonight. I'm just bumping through the chat here. About 23 people here so far. Welcome. Oh, I gotta mute myself too so I don't hear. Okay, cool. Already got quite a few questions related to the title of this week's live stream, this week's video. So this week's video is primarily going to be about a handful of things that you could do to help speed up your time already. I go over what's in my mobile toolbox, some recommendations, and then I also go over the plotter system. And then it just so happened we had a full car pull in right near the end of me wrapping up that part of the video. So you just kind of see some general environment workflow, and then that's pretty much it. We're going to get into Q&A after that, but just to answer just a couple of quick questions at the beginning. No, I do not expect everybody to get a car done in an hour. Me, myself, I average about an hour and a half comfortably, but I can push myself to an hour if I need to. But I go over this stuff in the video, so I don't want to say too much right now. And then also just a lot of it comes down to practice and repetition. So I don't say that so much in this video. I kind of wish I did after going through it. I mostly talk about the hustle and stuff, but a lot of it comes down to just practice. Anybody that has been tinning that makes it look easy has been putting in the time, the effort to get where they are today. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. I will try to answer some of the questions in the chat as we go, and then also I will take your questions afterwards too. We're going to keep this to about an hour today. We got about 20-ish minute video, so let's get started. So as the thumbnail and title kind of indicates, you would think that this video would be solely the plotter, but it's actually not. In the little corner of the thumbnail, you see the coffee machine, the Keurig. And that's kind of the theme, is more about hustle than anything. So whether you use a plotter system or whether you hand cut and carry all your stuff with you, there's things that you can do to help speed up your time using a variety of different systems. So this is kind of a general overview of what some of those might look like, and really how I went from being a 6-hour tinter on my very first car to being a 1-hour tinter, 1.5 hours if I'm comfortable, but I can speed up faster than that if I really need to. So first, let me get into my mobile setup, because this is really the spirit of what that looks like. So the whole point is to have everything on hand with you at all times around the car. I recommend everybody have a belt or something. If you carry a stool around the car with you, have your tools nearby at all times, at least the main ones that you use, because if you keep them off to the side and you have to walk back and forth between a car, it's just going to eat up minutes. And doing anything that you can do to kind of save time, save seconds off of one task, compress all your steps together, that will save you time by and large over an entire car. So as we get into the tools, we have a handled squeegee. This is my primary go-to squeegee. The handle may change, the squeegee blade may change, but this basic setup right here is what I'm gonna be using for the majority of my windows. Then we have some side squeegees. So this is a Conqueror. They come in a variety of colors. And then this is a Tri-Edge pink triangle. These are really, really good too. These are a little bit thinner. And next we've got a felt soft card for shrinking back windows. We've got a knife. This is just a stainless steel snap-off blade with a red dot knife. And then we got another corner tool. This we saw on the website. This is just a soft card. And then we got a couple more. We also got the blue Tri-Edge one, a couple different hardnesses for that. We have an old beat-up Gator blade. Love these things. We have a little teeny tiny chopped down soft squeegee for quarters, and the shank. And buried in this pocket, I also have a snapper box. So that's kind of the summary of just what's in my tool belt. But keep your main tools with you at all times. Keep a belt on. Keep them by you, because The more you walk back and forth, the longer this is going to take. So that is recommendation number 1. Now moving into the crazy ass toolbox here. This is a little overkill. I was trying to make the ultimate live stream setup, tinter toolbox, everything all together. So let's just go through shelf by shelf. This is actually a toolbox that expands into the cart setup that you see here. So I have a nice flat surface on the top that kind of acts like a little bit of a table. I got a couple little compartment storage thingies here where I throw a lot of my used blades and stuff that makes it dangerous. Little cup holder type deal. And then the first drawer, these go in and out both ways so you can get to the stuff from both sides. Basically, this is all my non-essentials but handies to have, I guess. So we have just a bunch of blades that I'm testing out right now. My tint meter, some screwdrivers, an extra soak shield. I keep my spare light up here. These aren't primary tools. These are all new secondary stuff. It's definitely a little dirty. Need to clean it out a bit. Already did for this video, and it still looks like garbage. Moving on to the next drawer. Here we have squeegees that I have used, hard cards and stuff that I've already gone through used that I for some reason can't seem to throw away. But they're handy to have in case I lose one of my brand new ones. So I don't know. They just stack up over time. Need to clean some of these out. Razor blades. These are stainless steel razor blades. You can use carbon steel, but I got some stainless steel ones so they don't rust. Couple empty bottles of tint slime. This is where I will put my tool belt. So this just kind of lays flat in here. I have a bottle of Squeaky Monkey, I have my main light, and my Glass-Aid packs that I have kept. I'm keeping track of how many I have used since I got it. Extra tape, and just some non-essential stuff, but all good stuff to have. Tint marker, in case, you know, heaven forbid I leave a gap somewhere. Oh yeah, I got this Scrub It too. These are pretty nifty. These usually go in this pocket, or in this drawer too as well. And then we have the big tub at the bottom. So I have a gigantic bottle of Dawn in here because I was running low and I needed something now. And we got our bigger squeegees here. So we got a scrub paddle, we got the bulldozer, which is a must. We got a couple more soak ropes, some dryer sheets, and extra scrub pads, plastic for the doors. We got a stroke doctor in here, we got the heat gun, and we got something rather creative, I thought. I took two big cord reels and laid them flat, connected them together. So here and here, we go one side to the other. So I can plug my box into the wall and I can pull an extension cord out of the front and use this for a heat gun. And I had a splitter in the middle to power my laptop because this was going to be a streaming setup. This part, I really like the idea of it. The problem is if you're jumping back and forth from one bay to the other bay, you need to keep unplugging the box, shifting it around, and having a cord that I would just pull in and out of the tub would probably be a little bit better. This was kind of just a fun project for me to make. So this is my ultimate mobile setup right now. I take this and I place it right by the car, and that way I have access to absolutely everything that I would need for a car. This folds up, this goes in my truck. I run around between a couple of different shops. So this is really cool, and you don't have to go full out crazy like this. Like this box was like $500 and just kind of way overkill for what I was doing, but there was nothing quite like this. But there's, you know, Patrick's got the Fat Max toolbox that is really good. There's a bunch of just roller plastic ones for like 75 to $100, I think, that work really well. So definitely, if you're running mobile, keep everything in a box, keep it besides the car, and then keep a tool belt on you, and that way you have everything with you all the time. And then also for a sprayer, I've got one of these 3-gallon stainless steel spray tanks. This sits right on top of my box, and I can roll it around wherever I need it to go. This has a 30-foot hose, so I'm not dragging the tank around the car. It's a little hard to manage 30 feet of hose in between bays, like walking back and forth. But for just a stationary setup, like if you have a bay to yourself, you can pull a car in and out. It's really, really good. So let's talk about plotter systems a little bit too, because there's always this big debate between hand cutting and plotter cutting, and one's faster than the other. And there's truth to both of them. Hand cutting can be faster than plotters, and plotters can be faster than hand cutting. Plotters are really good in a high production space. It generally makes things easier for just one tinter, but if you have somebody that can run a plotter, that's really where you're going to save the most amount of time, because I can hand cut a car in a similar amount of time to cutting on the plotter. Of course, there's going to be some differences between back windows and truck windows and stuff like that. So there's definitely advantages to when the plotter can cut stuff out. But if it's just me running it by myself, by and large, they're pretty comparable. But as soon as you get an assistant that can run the plotter for you, and then you can focus on installing, and then you got another car lined up ready to go, you've got a system that will basically cut out whatever cutting time that you had, streamline everything. So this is one way to just knock down your time without very much experience right off the bat. These also make it easier to learn, but these come at a very steep price. This is a GrafTech plotter. This is an FC7000. This was bought back in, I believe, 2004. It's had rollers replaced on it, but by and large, it's been a workhorse ever since. This gets run all day, every week. And it's still got my classic mustache from years and years ago. So I'm really surprised to see this thing has not broken down yet. But like they said, like GrafTech said, they said they'll run forever. There's some less expensive options. They have Vinyl Express, which is basically like their off-brand cousin. I couldn't tell a difference between those plotters other than the name. And then you have Jaguar plotters, which are a little bit less expensive. And then you also have Roland plotters, which are very comparable to the GrafTech in terms of branding and presence and pricing. So Patrick just posted a video about that. That's over on our Certified Tinner website, and he runs through how to use a Roland. I will have a future video on how to run a GrafTech. It would be good to see the differences between the two. But by and large, these are really good tools for high production, and when you have an assistant, it helps out a ton. But some things that you can do, there's a couple of ways to set these up that help make yourself a little bit more efficient. So have the plotter here or with a table run out to cut right on, and then have your film right next to the plotter. So that way you're just taking your film, dropping it off of the shelf to the plotter, cutting your patterns, and then right on over to a glass board. So this is a diagonal one. This is definitely not an angle I would recommend, because let me jump over here. So by and large, the problem with having a cut board like this rather than flat against the wall is you're leaning so much, it just starts to hurt your back after a little while. These are really handy for cutting your patterns. You're definitely going to need them if you're using a plotter. You need a big surface that you can cut on. You can do a table or you can do a vertical piece, but just don't have it at an angle. We thought it might be a good idea, but the person that built it too much at an angle, but it's been here ever since because we're too lazy to rebuild it. So we also have the computer right next to the plotter, of course, because you need a system to cut out all your patterns. This here is TintTech 2020, and it's on a very old computer, and the monitor stand, I don't even know why, is busted off at this point. This computer just stays on all the time. This is one of those $100 Dell machines from, like, you can just find them used, and the thing just doesn't stop running. It's even got Windows XP. Oh no, this is Windows, oh, is this? No, this is Windows 7. It used to have Windows XP before I got the upgrade to Windows 7. But yeah, you don't need much to run plotter software. And real quick, into plotter software, TintTech 2020 by and large is all right. You have to learn what patterns you need to adjust because they'll come out with new patterns for new cars and they're just not that great. They'll be short on certain edges. All your oddball stuff doesn't line up very well by and large. A lot of popular vehicles will be accurate across all the systems, but when you start getting into the oddball cars like foreign trucks and SUVs and just something they're like, oh, I haven't seen that in a while, I don't get many of those are the types of cars that are usually just all sorts of screwing on a plotter. If you are interested in a software right now, I would probably recommend trying out XPEL's software for window tinting. I've tried out probably 5 or 6 different softwares, and I've had problems with either the patterns themselves or the software tries to lock you to a particular film. Now, one little note about XPEL is if you go into their PPF software, they have this cut bank program. and so you have to buy their film and you get credit towards cuts for your window film. Now, they're not doing that with their window tint yet, but they do sell window film. So I would expect that in the future, they might pull some fuckery with you buy their film, they're adding cut prices to their patterns. They have not done that yet. They have not told me anything about that. That's just kind of my inkling. So always be on the watch for that. But shout out to Dean really quick. He's pretty active in the Facebook groups. He does all their patterns too. They didn't sponsor me. They don't know I'm saying this or whatever, but he takes a lot of pride in cutting all his patterns, and I've seen firsthand they work super well. So I get asked about plotter software a lot, so I throw that note in there too. So that's the basic setup for a plotter. I recommend just like with mobile tinting, just like with plotter setups, keep everything close, keep everything on hand, and you'll definitely be... So definitely keep everything close, keep everything on hand, and you will just dramatically reduce your time right there. And then from that, just because you're keeping your tools on hand close by you, that doesn't mean you're an efficient tinner by any means, but it definitely helps more than running around. So another thing that really helped me is pushing yourself. And coffee, hustle, that theme is very true throughout window tinting. Pretty much everything you do by and large, if you constantly push yourself to get a little better, go a little faster, that's how you're majorly going to see some differences. Of course, tint is an art form in and of itself, so you want to take some time to make sure you do a good job, and taking 3 or 4 hours to do a really good job is better than taking an hour and doing a shitty job. However, we're here to make money, we're here to make this work as a business. You need to charge accordingly for the time that you're going to take. You need to realize that you have overhead, whether that's in a shop or your personal life, whatever you got going on, you need to charge accordingly. So if you're only going to charge $100 for a full day's work, it's not necessarily great when you have material costs, time, place, everything invested. So time is always the thing that kicks us in the ass that we need to take into account when we're tinting cars. So I know I'm trailing a little bit, but the main thing that pushed me to get faster was actually being in a shop environment just like this. A high production, lower cost job, basically. So we would do cars here by and large for like $170 at the time, 160, 170 bucks per car. And we have software to pay for. We have a big 6,000 square foot building to pay for. We got all the employees to pay for. And it's just, there's so much that's dependent on getting cars in and out as fast as we could. Now, I did not like that at the time, and it was very, very frustrating to get to a faster point. But it also taught me a lot of good things about how to keep everything close, on hand, watch your steps. Plotter definitely helped us out. We got extra help to run the plotter, and so somebody would be installing and somebody would be running the plotter here, particularly, what do we got now?
This is a 2016 300 for a complete windshield.
That's a good thing to just have all of a sudden. So the main thing that helped me speed up the most is just being pushed every day. So we had car after car after car, and I had no choice but to get faster. So being able to push yourself in some way, shape, or form is ideal for getting faster, of course, but you don't want to compromise your quality, and that's where you really need to practice and refine your steps. So it just so happens now, while we were recording this, that we have a full car, full Chrysler 300 here with a complete windshield that needs to be tinted. So we're just going to run through what a full car being tinted kind of looks like in a plotter style environment right now. So we're going to have the patterns cut on the plotter. We're going to have somebody prepping it, and you're not going to see everything getting done right now, but you are going to see the general overview of what the hustle looks like. So first thing that they do here is they'll hang up all the invoices on the board, and then we'll pick one of them up, and then we'll go over to the plotter, and then it'll give us an itemized list of what's getting tinted and the percentages that's getting tinted. So it's all done on paper. There's no, oh, I forgot what's getting done. It needs to be streamlined, so everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what's going on. So this is getting a 5% complete. This is going to be dark, of course, because it's a Chrysler 300. So we're going to grab our film. It's basic 5, so that's the entry level here. It's a slow, rainy day today. So we're going to take this out. The plotter is empty, so then we're gonna go ahead and load this. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and let this set up. And while this is setting up, I'm gonna grab my invoice. We're gonna go ahead to our software and we're gonna pull up a 2016 Chrysler 300. So this is getting cut out right now. This is just the front doors. And then once that's done, we're gonna put it over here to the glass boards and start weeding out our patterns. And as you can see, Aaron over here, he is prepping the vehicle. So he's taping off all the felt seals. He's gonna thoroughly clean all the glass. And then after that, he's gonna help me with installations. So we got a 2-person crew today for getting these done. The windshield is just gonna be hand cut on the glass itself. Plotted patterns don't usually work by and large for windshields. There's just too many little variations between the two, and for whatever reason, I don't know, plotters have not gotten their shit together with windshields. So yeah, it's just, we gotta get to work. Cutting out just the patterns. They're gonna go from here over to here. I like the vertical setups because it just kind of keeps everything out of your way. If you have the space for a table, that's cool too. Both of them are good. So we're just spray the board and peel our patterns. There's that. So after we cut those out, I will take one of the patterns and then I will take it over to the car and I will put it on the corresponding door that it belongs to. And then the inside of it still needs to get cleaned, but I'm gonna put it up a little higher from the bottom so Aaron has a little bit of room to roll this down, and then it's all set up for shrinking too. And then after it's all cleaned, just run around and install it. So he's working on that while I'm cutting out patterns. And yeah, just one after the next. The windshield drying, Aaron's working on the back window. Back doors are cut, so I gotta weed those. And we just got another full car on the board with a full windshield. So it went from being a completely dead day to all of a sudden having 2 full cars with windshields that need to be done now. It's currently 12 o'clock. We'll see how fast we can get this done. Date, it's now 12:08. All the patterns are on the car except for the windshield. That is almost dry. I think it is dry. Doors are shrunk, ready to be installed. Glass is pretty much cleaned. Aaron's working on the back glass. So a lot's getting covered in a very short amount of time because we got another car to do. It's 12:26 right now. I have the passenger side done. Just finished up the driver's door. We have this back door that still needs to be done. Aaron's wrapping up the back glass right now, just cleaning it off. We still got the windshield to do. And yeah, we're making really, really good time. This is by no means a land speed record, but just we got to be able to keep pace like this with, you know, with the next car, and then because we don't know what's on the other side of that, so they like to surprise us sometimes, but maybe nothing after that. We don't know until we find out. Couple things to keep in mind. I have my sprayer right here that I'll take around the car, just like I said. I have my tool belt on, so I don't have to worry about running back and forth. I have everything that I need for the door in front of me. It's all ready to go, and then we move on to the next one, just kind of work our way around the car. All right, so I'm cutting out the windshield now. Aaron is installing the back door. We have another car on the board that's going to get prepped and ready. So while I'm installing the windshield on this one, once he's done with that door, he's going to be over prepping the other car, which he's also just hearing now. So that way we get as much done possible in a short amount of time as we can. It's 12:43. The rest of the car is done. I think it's mostly clean. And now I am just trying to carry this windshield in. Windshields, it's annoying to speed up on because it's really easy to fuck them up. So take a breather for these for sure. I mean, and like I said, we're not setting any land speed records today. You don't have to get stuff done this quick. This is just, you want high production in a short amount of time. This is what that is gonna look like when you have a plotter system and somebody to help out. You can get shit done in half hour, in an hour. It's just way more better. Okay. So now it's 12:49. So we are actually under an hour, but this was definitely not by myself, and I wasn't trying to pretend like I can get a full car done with a windshield in an hour. But as a team, you definitely can help each other out. The plotter helped a bunch on this one for just getting stuff cut. It also helps to have somebody who's very experienced at hand cutting, so supplement hand cutting with the plotter, and you get a very similar situation. All right, so it's 12:54. We are just at about an hour, maybe a little bit longer than that. We did the full car and the windshield. With an assistant, Aaron has been a great help. He's been tinning since October of last year, so he hasn't even been tinning for very long, but he put in the hustle. He's a great assistant. He's shrinking, installing back windows, installing doors, doing a lot of it off the plotter. So having somebody that has a hustle along with them, you know, when you have two people together, make a great team. Somebody will be handling, you know, cutting or installing, while somebody else is handling prepping or moving things around. And then, you know, you can divvy up, like he was working on the back window while I was working on the doors, and then he was installing the back door because he finished with the back window when I was working on the windshield. And then we had the next car that got pulled in, so now he's over in the second bay getting that all prepped, ready to go. This one's all set. I just cleaned it up, and now I'm gonna pull this one out and just keep things moving along, because now we got 2 more full cars to do, and still gotta edit this video and go live tonight. So like I said at the beginning, it's all about that hustle, get that drive, and really just focus on pushing yourself forward. And I hope seeing some of that here today helped inspire some of you guys to push yourselves a little bit more. Thank you all for watching though, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cool. It was definitely a little long-winded in parts, and I know I repeated myself, but hope you guys enjoyed that. So like I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of this comes down to practice, repetition, and having that hustle to, you know, to learn, to keep pushing yourself. This gets frustrating, but that's really how I went from tinning a car. Took me 6 hours, picked up every tip and trick that I could find, and really just refined my skills down to where I'm at today. So for those of you that are just tuning in right now, I should have said this at the beginning of the live stream. At the beginning, totally forgot I was on more YouTube. So this video here is a part of mine and Patrick's training website, CertifiedTinner.com. We are live every Tuesday and Thursday. We air a brand new video that goes a lot more in depth on some behind the scenes of, you know, tinting. You know, you go through my YouTube channel, you get a lot of helpful things, but we usually have to cut those videos down quite a bit. And as you can see in this one today, it was a 23-ish minute video, so we go a lot more in detail on everything about the business, about what you need to know, about how to optimize your speed, how to tint windows, how to tackle different situations. So everything that you want to know. There's a bunch of videos on the website right now, so be sure to check those out. CertifiedTinner.com is the place to go. And now it's time for Q&A. So just scrolling back through some of the questions. Somebody asked me, mind sharing your the glass aid. First off, we have that for sale now on the website. I didn't have it last week, but it is now on the website, so if you guys want to check that out, that is my little pride and joy. Ooh, just gonna, this guy right here, I use it to outline windows. It's a 10 mil thick PVC tape line, basically, so you can outline your windows and then cut on it. It's white, so you can see through it. Somebody asked about 5%. No, it's not great for 5% as far as seeing it. You can shine a light on the outside of the glass rather than the inside, so that's pretty handy. But you do see that raised bump all the way around. If you have a very brightly lit surrounding for that back window, you'll be able to see it much easier. But anything down to like a 15% you can see really easily, but 5% is just a little bit too dark, makes it a little difficult. Somebody asked me, mind sharing your yearly income? It's been kind of changing over the last couple of years. Mobile was kind of the biggest roller coaster. So when we had a lot of good accounts that were really hustling, I think my gross income peaked at like 92, about 92, but you still have film costs to take out of there. That usually is roughly around like 10K, 8 to 10,000, and then you got other stuff in there too as well. But that's roughly where the gross income peaked, and then that year for the mobile, and then shops started to. We noticed a couple of shops started to decline as far as sales and stuff like that, and drive, and then we ended up pulling out from them, and now, believe it or not, I'm actually completely on my own right now. So I took a bit of um, not a career change, but just like was working under a company, great company. I'd recommend them. They're Tint Squad. They're located in the Waterford area. They're also Sun Distributing. So good company. It's just I am pushing way more towards doing video and YouTube and stuff like that. And it's just they need a full-time tinner. So they don't believe they have a full-time tinner right now. So if you are looking for a job, they're definitely probably hiring for a full-time gig over there. They pay well. So I have a couple of mobile accounts right now, but and I'm also looking to actually pull stuff in on my own as well. But I gotta work on that a little bit more coming up. It's just things have been kind of been a juggling act lately, but that's just kind of what life is like. So, do you remove back spoilers on cars? Generally, no. Leave the back spoilers alone in most circumstances. I think the hardest one out right now is the Honda Civic Type R, and Patrick actually has a video of that. I think there. I know there's another one on YouTube, but I think he's got one. Maybe I'm mistaking. But yeah, there's like it's I don't know. I've seen comments saying that it was easy to take off. It's not. It's kind of a pain in the ass. But that's the only one I would really recommend. Everything else I cut and work around. So I should have a video on that. That's actually a good question there. Da-da-da-da. Can you make a video on how to tint a 2015 and up F-150 driver's front and passenger door? Yes, I can. Oh my God. I have so many front window truck videos, but I don't have the F-150. I don't know why. Yeah, it's got that S-curve. The way I cut it out is pretty much the same as I cut out most truck windows. You just line up the bottom, cut your side, or no, actually, sorry. What I do is cut like the bottom, the side, and line up the bottom edge, shift it over, then cut out your S, and then cut the other side, shift it back. So I do a little bit of shifting when it comes to cutting those. But yeah, I need to make a video on that. Sorry, I got a little confused. Sometimes, because sometimes I usually cut the front edge and then shift it over, but if you do that, then that S curve is like gapped over and you have to pull it down farther. It's a bad habit to get into, but I've done it a handful of times. Da-da. Have you tried the Glass Aid for a cut strip on your plotter yet? No, I have not actually. I'm not sure it would quite work the same. I actually thought about trying to use those plotter cut strips as a border, but they're too rigid. They just don't round corners very easy. So those are like Teflon strips. And I actually looked around for all sorts of Teflon. Oh, I dropped it. I looked around for all sorts of like Teflon tape options and stuff like that, but the fabric cuts through too easy and it just doesn't round corners, and it didn't work for that for the windshields. But yeah, vice versa. It would be interesting. I honestly kind of wanted to try it today because the plotter screwed up, but those plotters get so finicky sometimes. As soon as you start screwing with them, like I'm not at a dedicated shop with a plotter. I'm usually running mobile and then come back to that shop once a week. So I don't want to screw it up for those guys either, but on a slow day, I might give it a try. The Teflon strip on a plotter is way thicker, 10 mil. The blade would cut through it if you have to try putting it on your plotter. Yeah, it's definitely way thicker, but it's also like the surface of it is way harder. So that's definitely an interesting thing. Let's see. Oh, good God. YouTube, it like scrolls the chat. I don't know. Sometimes the chat window, like I'll be reading and then I'll bump it all the way down to the bottom and then I have to scroll back up to try and find what the comment was. How do you get certified? We're working on some sort of a certification program. There is no certification program pretty much anywhere. There's just you can get approved to use certain films. You can be like an authorized dealer. By and large, mostly that just comes down to buying their film. I believe that's the same with Lumar. Lumar does have a more prestigious Formula One brand that you can earn your way into, which is kind of cool. Patrick's shop is actually a Formula One dealer, so he knows more about that than I do. But there really are no certifications. The whole reason why our website is called Certified Tinner, though, is one, we like the name, but two, to kind of establish some sort of a professionalism with the industry and try to come up with what we feel like would be a good certification program. So we want it to really build towards something, and we're working on that. So we don't have anything ironed down yet, but we are talking in the background about things that we want to do in order to basically build up a bit of a standard and basically, you know, get a library of people or just a list of certified people that we could recommend to companies and stuff like that. So either as a placement program or as a tool to basically get leads and then distribute those leads out to people. That's the real world scenario for it. Because by and large, if you get a certification that says you know how to tint, like if you go to a tint school, they'll give you a little certificate at the end of it saying that you participated, and that's great. That can be very encouraging, but it does not mean you know how to tint. It just means that you took your class. And same thing with any type of university. That's by and large what it means, is that you went to that university, but it does not necessarily mean that you know everything. You learn a lot more out in the field than you do from just a school. But you know, going back and forth is definitely recommended. So you can pick a lot up from a school and then go out into the real world and practice it, and then come back, learn some tips, and keep going from there. Um, It was really funny. Lexan actually commented at the beginning of this, at the beginning of this chat. I didn't realize that they were watching. I have your film on the way in a couple different forms, and we're gonna we're gonna put it through the ringer here. So, in case you don't know, in case they're still watching, it's been the most requested. So this here is I wonder if you guys can see this. I don't think you can see this. I see it's good to have it backlit, but in case you can see that color difference right there, I need to put like a bright light behind it, like kind of you can see a little bit, but there's too many discolorations. So what I've been doing is this is my very cheap, inexpensive film that I have sourced, and I've been masking it off, like masked it off in 4 strips, and then have been covering it up so we can really see the difference. And I put it on this broad spectrum light bulb. So this light bulb up here, it does, it puts out UV, A and B. It puts out visible light, of course, because you can see it. And then it also puts out, oh no, I gotta go this way. And then it also puts out IR heat. So and this thing sits here and cooks at about 130 degrees nonstop all day. So it's basically like simulating extreme sunlight all day, every day, nonstop. And the color has faded out of it, showed discoloration within 4 days, and then we're going to see how bad it gets. And we're basically going to be using that as a baseline. So I'm building a shelf. I'm going to have 4 pieces of film, 4 different films. We're going to be using Lexan 20%, Lexan 5%, and then we're going to be using the really cheap film, and then we're also going to be using a color stable film. And we're just going to see how they fade. So that is by no means a accurate representation of the real world. But what I'm trying to do is figure out a way to fast weather film to basically see if color stable films are really like, if it's comparable, this is all just general scientific research, if you even want to call it that. This is backyard science. So we're going to see if the better films last longer on it. We're going to see if the cheaper films fade faster. And if that seems to be the case, then I will be doing this, like I'll be doing this with my own film. So like my own film that I use every day. And I hope that it works really well, and we'll go from there. So that's basically the gist of it. Coming up in a video, so hope y'all don't mind, but it was just the most requested film, like everywhere. Anybody that's asking me about eBay or Amazon film, they're asking me about Lexan. So you guys should be at least happy about that, and hopefully it at least is lasts. I'm just scrolling through this. Do you have Insta? Yes, I do. Tint stuff on Instagram, I think, if that's what you're asking. I think so. Like, I think that's what you're asking. Instagram. Yeah, that's what the kids say. The tint shop. Oh, tint shops in your area make you sign a waiver if you're getting lower than the legal limit. That's a smart thing to do. Here in the state of Michigan, it's nothing on the front doors and as dark as you want on the back doors. Ooh, yeah, Mike, AutoZone. I see they have different priced Hela tint. Are they all shit? That's going to be another video, too. I'm going to put all three on the bulbs, and we're going to see if the good one lasts longer than the bad one. Because I know for a fact that the good one is really blue, just like the cheap one. So, I don't know. I would have to... I don't know. They have to be different. But it all could be smoke and mirrors, so... I don't know. That kit that I installed, the Hela kit, that was actually an interesting thing. The glue, it wasn't as tacky. At least when I was doing it, slid around a lot. Took a while for it to actually tack up. The liner stuck really bad to the tint, so I could see a lot of people going to peel it, and then it just like falls off the window, and then it just screws up. It was actually not quite as easy as I would have liked, but they just set you up for making it a hard time with that what is it? Just the few basic tools that they have in there. But you know, it's $10, so you can't complain too much about that. It's just I've always seen that kit at AutoZone and laugh because it's like tinting's hard enough already, and we can make it look easy in videos, but now somebody gets ambition, goes buys one of those kits or the Blackmagic kit from Walmart, and then just has a bad time, and then they just get pissed at it. So, 3M or Lumar? I'd probably go with Lumar, honestly. 3M, 3M, I think all day for flat. You know, I can't say that for sure, but I've heard they're much better for flat glass. I have talked to a 3M rep before, and 3M is very, very expensive. So is Lumar. Lumar's expensive. But 3M, like, if I've ever heard anybody come into a shop asking for a film, it's been 3M. However, they're not they're not advertising for you. You're advertising their brand in your store more often than not. So they do put you in a little locator on their website, but it really doesn't do much for you because we were actually, back in the day, we were a 3M dealer too. So we installed Lumar and we installed 3M. By and large, like 3M, not really. I think it's generally been overpriced. And then to top it all off, like we were installing 3M Color Stable and it was blue. Like it was definitely, it wasn't like blue, but it had a blue hue to it, which made it really difficult. Like you can't match factory with that. So if somebody comes up wants 3M Color Stable, and it's like then they wonder why it doesn't match. And like for full cars without the factory tinted stuff, you're fine. But other than that, that was really discouraging with it. But Lumar's got a really good color to it. Lumar's very easy to work with. They have a really solid dyeing process. They actually dye the window film for pretty much everybody in the United States. So they're a good company. I like Lumar Film, and I think they're a solid company, but they are definitely one of those more corporate style companies. So they're part of Eastman Chemical Company. They will if you basically you have monthly you have your monthly minimums that you need to maintain, or your yearly minimum that you need to maintain to stay a Lumar dealer. And there's a lot of people that get Lumar, but then they don't get the price for what the film would demand to install it. So it takes a special kind of shop to really take advantage of that Lumar mindset. So it's kind of like an Apple store. Like, I mean, if you were to become an Apple store, buy all your iPhones to sell in your own store, it's like you really have to leverage that Apple brand to get the most per dollar. And it's just branding isn't there with window film the same way it's there with electronics and stuff like that. Like there's hardly any brand awareness for the consumer about window film. So largely it's just good sales, and you can be a good sales guy about a lot of films, but Lumar will take care of you as a shop, though. So if you have any problems, if you need any warranty coverage, Patrick can speak about it firsthand. He said they've been great, so that's always good to know. Oh yeah, somebody asked about Global Window Film. I've heard nothing but good things about Global Window Film. It's a deep dive film. It's made by Gwari over in India, and they're really good with their dyeing process. It was a very easy film to work with. The glue is the only thing I don't like about it is the glue is really aggressive. Like you can get it into place, but as soon as you go to lock it down, like that shit's there, and it's there to stay. So once the window dries out too, you go to remove it, that glue is just a pain in the ass to remove. I hated that, trying to, like, we had a handful of warranties, or somebody got pulled over for their front doors. Like, I don't have a lot of experience using Global. I've just been around it a little bit. And we had somebody that got pulled over for the front windows. I had to peel them. And if there's any glue that I remember more, it's Global. Like, Lumar leaves glue behind. A lot of American films leave glue behind. But Global sucked. Other than that, great film, will last you for years and years. Have you ever used Scorpion Carbon Tint? The shop that I just shot that video in installs Scorpion, and funny thing about their cheap line of film, like a lot of companies will have their main advertised lines of film, and then they'll have their like little super cheap to try and keep somebody happy as a dealer. Like they just want the cheapest of the cheap films. So it's like I can't knock them too much for this. But it looks like it recently just changed, because it was like a green brown looking film to all of a sudden like a light blue, and it's like ooh, something changed really bad, and now it's a little bit more rubbery. So I just walked into that today, and I was like, what the hell happened to the basic film here? And they're like, I don't know. It seems different now. But they didn't say anything. So it's like, you can at least like let them know that it's going to change. But as far as their better lines, their ceramic film is actually pretty good. And their color stable film seems to be pretty good too as well. It was just that little thing with their entry level film. Scorpion's not like a manufacturer; they're a Reeboxer and a brand more so than not. That's not really a bad thing if they get the right stuff. But there's only so many manufacturers actually for window film. Like ASWF is not a manufacturer; they're a laminator, so they source all their material and then laminate it. So that's what happens with a lot of them. Scorpion, same as Flex Film. Same as Flex Film, same as some other ones. Yeah, there's actually, there's one of those films. I can't say 100%, but there's a handful of films that are basically all using the same shit. So if you get samples and you feel them and they seem the same, they probably. Oh, is there a chance that my fingers will leave after the film cures, or are they permanent? My fingers are here to stay. My fingers. Sorry. Those are not. They're not just gonna go away. So if you have fingers in the film, they're just gonna sit there and they're gonna be there. They will, however, dry out, and you can try pressing them down, but by and large, you have to warm them up a little bit. And usually, the glue starts to dry out too as they've been sitting up away from the glass, so they don't look the same either. that's just one of the difficulties with window tint. You have to shrink your film, you have to lay it down all even, it has to all lock down and dry evenly, or else it's not going to look good. So it's just practice, practice, practice. Papa. No, I use flex film. It's way thicker. It might have changed, but like there's different lines. Like every company's got a handful of different lines too. I don't know what Scorpions is called, but I was using flex film for a little while, and then I was using they use Scorpions at my dad's, and then there's another place too. I'm just trying not to lump them all together, but like it was the same. Do I know of any companies that sell pre-cut tint for a Honda CRX? I'm sure all of them that exist would sell them. But I don't. There isn't any that I can recommend right now. Unfortunately, I should look around there, but try and look for something with like a name brand if you can. Prices for a name brand film are going to be in the range of like 70 to 80 bucks for like a full kit. The stuff on Amazon and eBay, as far as I could tell, they don't have any like name brand. So you're looking for stuff like Suntech was a popular one that I seem to see. Lumar doesn't want to be sold online. Suntech actually didn't want to be sold online. So if it was happening under the table. Solar Guard, any of those companies, they really don't like to be advertised online because they're worried about being bait and switched. So a company advertising their name and selling a different film. But there are some shops that I don't know of any specifically, but I want to say like Tint Zoom and places like that. I should look this up, but I'll come back next week, maybe with some more information. Our film brands. Tint Zoom yeah, like let me put these. Oh my God, no, sorry, not that one. This one. So like here you have Tint Zoom. I remember this one. Tint Zoom Lumar. So they are selling Lumar, but I doubt Lumar knows that they're selling Lumar unless Lumar changed their policies or they worked something out. They have GeoShield here, Lumar, GeoShield. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is a comparison. Tint Zoom versus Lumar. So they are not. This is just a comparison. I take that back. And then Tint Zoom, GeoShield, Lumar. So that's interesting. Yeah, okay. I misunderstood. Yeah, before I speak, I gotta put a little bit more research into this, so bear with me on that. What about Lexan? See? Lexan. We're gonna find out. Dip show up. Dip show. What do you recommend? Dish soap or tint slime? I would recommend tint slime. It's actually right here. Boop. And the green. Boop. Tint slime is great. There's also another one called Fusion All-Type that's really good. I would recommend those above using just regular soaps that you can buy in the store. The green one was a little bit more sticky. It tacks up faster. It's got a green apple smell. The orange stuff, this is my go-to. I really like this. This is a lot more slippery, and it still has some additives that help it dry out faster. Basically, baby shampoo has a lot of fats, and dish soaps, those are detergents. So they're just like, they're made for other things, not window tint. These, while they're similar, like they act similar, but there's just a couple things that like the tint slime will dry clear rather than leave white streaks behind. And it cleans up a lot easier. Like if you wipe down Dawn or baby shampoo, it leaves lots of smears behind. This stuff does not. It cleans up it wipes down a lot cleaner, it dries out faster, and installed really, really nicely. Very similar. So there was definitely a couple of benefits to it. It's a little pricey, but I'd say, if you're running a shop, it's, yeah, you can go buy baby shampoo, and like you saw in my toolbox, I had Dawn. So sometimes I run around with soaps, but I think they are definitely a good thing to have on hand. It's just, everybody's got their own personal preference. So something that I think is made for it, because also the soaps dry out, they leave residues behind. And while usually you're not gonna have a peely window with like a baby shampoo or something like that, these stuff will dry out, or tint slime will dry out a little bit cleaner. So it's supposed to like stay on the window a lot better too. So stuff like that to keep in mind. How do you get into window tinting? Well, first, sign up at certifiedtinter.com, watch mine and Patrick's videos. We put a lot of stuff up there. And then get some training tools and some training film, and then just mess around with it. That is honestly what I would recommend everybody to do that is interested in tinting for the first time. See if you like it. Like, put a little bit of investment into it. You'll probably spend a couple $100 on like a roll of training film, some basic tools. Probably, yeah, probably about that. And like, because film's going to be your biggest cost by and large, and then the starting tools, like, you don't need much. But that is the best way to just see if you like it. And then from there, there's a handful of 5-day classes around like the US. And what the classes do is they give you a good foundation, but there really is no set path for learning. So pretty much most tinners that are out there today have either trained under somebody at a shop, or they have just put in the hustle to learn this on their own. If you have a car and a garage, just practice on your own shit, work up your skill, watch the videos, and just keep practicing and practicing until you get better. And then from there, I would suggest maybe approaching a shop and trying to get just an entry-level position as far as like, being an assistant, cleaning. Try to be a help to them as much as you can. Cleaning's a real easy thing to get down in the beginning. Cleaning, prep work, and making sure things are picked up, and just doing what you can to help the guy that's got a tint the car. Because if he's the most difficult thing about trying to get into a shop and actually learn how to tint is the guy that's got to teach you has to slow down. And this has been a very frustrating thing for me personally. It's not that I don't want to slow down to teach somebody. It's that I got a full day to try and get through and teach somebody, and then the people in charge of the shop don't seem to understand that. So it just doubles my workload because I got to try and play babysitter while I'm also working. So if you can figure out the basics, come in with a lot of hustle, like Aaron I showed in the video a little bit. The dude came in and he was on top of it from day one. He pulled cars in and out. He was just picking things up. He was always looking for something to do. And that really encourages the people that you're working around to help you out as well. So always try and be a help as much as you can when you're trying to learn. If you're going to a shop environment, other than that, get some training film. Like, we have it really cheap on Certified Tinter. You can just blow through a roll. You'll be out a little bit of money, but it's way better than trying to buy some professional stuff and then scrap $300 worth of film, in one roll, and then go through more after that. Well, like 360-inch roll is really what I mean by that, because then it gets into color stable pricing. Oh boy. Yeah, I ramble and there's lots more questions. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for helping out. I need somebody to read me questions. What's a good ceramic brand but won't be super expensive? Helios is a good ceramic brand. GeoShield is a good ceramic brand. They're not too expensive. Those just come right to mind. A lot of like ceramic on the cheap end is really going to be about $500-$600 for like a 60-inch roll. Sometimes you can call them and see if they'll like cut you down a half roll or something like that. But by and large, ceramic is more expensive. But around here, we'll usually charge $400 to $450 for a full car for ceramic. So you make up a lot of your film cost very quickly on that. But yeah, you like when you buy it, you really have to buy like, I'd recommend getting like 5, 20, 35, 50, and 70, because 70 is just as good as the 5% as far as heat rejection goes. It's awesome. Ooh, wow, come on. It's right there. Like, I'm reading a question. It looks good, and then all of a sudden it's just like, boop, nope, screw you. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. I'm like trying to. Lexan also sells pre-cut tint. Yes, they do. That's why I'm reviewing them. I always get a bunch of small bubbles. What am I doing to make them appear, and what do I do? What can I do to remove them? So it's typically dust, and the best way to once it's there, like this is another super frustrating thing about window tinting. Once they're there to stay. You can try and rinse them out a little bit, peel the film back, but by and large, it's a you have polyester and glue, and as soon as that dirt digs into the glue a little bit, it's just stuck. So the best way to keep dirt down is refine your technique. Keep your side edges a little bit slimmer, so you don't have to tuck so far into like side seals and stuff like that, and just refine your technique. Practice, practice, practice. Certified tinner. Let's see, my tucking window tint made easy video on YouTube is a good video for showing how to tuck window film. So in the second half of the installation, first half I do a lot of those on Certified Tinner. Just like my install process across the board looks very similar from one card to the next. There's just going to be the little differences between gaskets and seal types and stuff like that. But it's just, you got to practice, practice, practice. So you can heat the glass up on the outside and try and press them down, like press the air out of that spot. But by and large, once you get a bunch of dirt specks, you got to redo the window, unfortunately. What's the orange one called? Oh yeah, for Tint Slime. This is Tint Slime Ultra, and then the green one is just regular Tint Slime. So both Tint Slime, they sell them at a bunch of tool distributors. So just Google Tint Slime, 44 Tools, Sun Distributing, Zola, Interwest, just all the regular suspects for that. Where can you get Tint Slime? All those places that I just mentioned, and we should sell it because I just talked about it a bunch. You guys are awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to read too. I started off. Matt says I started off with cheap film and tinting in my garage, doing it cheap. I called the tint shop near me to get pointers, and I work part time there now. Awesome. That is a good way to do it. You got the basics down, and then you start branching out from there. And because you have some built up experience from home, now they're way more excited to have you on as an employee, even part time, to build up your skill. And then from there, you could keep tinting from home. You could go, work your way up in their shop if they have some, if they're a good place. And then from there, like, sky's the limit. So that's awesome. That's a good way to do it. And not everybody has shops around them that they can go try and find. So that makes this difficult too as a career path, just in general, getting started. It's always the most difficult part. It's like trying to get credit. It's like getting credit when you don't have credit is difficult. But when you have it, then all of a sudden, things start lining up for you. How do you price cars if you're a beginner in your garage? That's a good question. Try to tint some friends' cars, and really just don't sell yourself short too much. Because if you know you can put out not a halfway, if you know you can put out a quality job, like you've tinted your own car, you look it over, it looks really good. Of course, there's going to be some little things here and there. That's the same with pretty much everybody's job. Especially when you're new. Customers, by and large, will not see all the teeny tiny imperfections, especially if they get a decent deal on it. So sometimes you get those really cheap people that are overly picky, but by and large, if they just seem like a cool person, then don't stress yourself out too much. What I would say is definitely cover your material cost and give yourself plenty of time out of a garage. I'd say probably, depending on if you're farther down south and depending on supply and demand. So go shop around your local shop. Like around here, shops are typically $200. Some are a little bit cheaper, but $200 on average starting, all the way up through $300 starting. So in my garage, if I was to undercut them, I'd probably shoot for like 160 to 180 if I was like going for that type of thing. But by and large, it depends on what you could probably promise the customer and what type of film you're using too. So I'd probably shoot for at least like 125 to 150 bucks just to, put some cash in your pocket, pay for the film, pay for your time. And if that's not enough, charge a little bit more, and then go from there. But don't do that for very long if you know you're putting out decent work and you're starting to build up a little bit of rep, because you don't want to be the cheap garage in town, because your customer base will get used to your price point, and then your price point kind of like dictates the kind of clients that you get to a little bit. So just kind of know your area and work up from there. So that's kind of what I would say there. Just play around with some stuff, and if you're not scared to lose a job, or like you really don't care if you get the job or not, just start eking up your price. It's honestly what I'm starting to do with like YouTube sponsors and stuff like that. It's just eking up my price. I've overshot it a handful of stuff, but I got to make some money for my YouTube channel as far as like sponsorships and stuff to help run the channel. So that's like, I don't know what to charge for a sponsorship. I know I get a lot of views on some videos and not so much on some other ones. I can't guarantee how a video is going to hit. I can tell you, you're probably going to be in a very top spot on search. And I started relatively low, and I'm just kind of working my way up to a comfortable limit. So I know I can deliver them something that they can feel proud of. And then also just kind of like build a relationship there as well. Question: how much money can a tinter installer employee earn by hourly or for the day? That largely depends on where you get set up. So we're running a little bit over right now. I'm going to wrap things up here pretty soon, but this is a good question. So, oh, and I should say the Art Vinyl one, they've been around for a long time. They'd probably be a decent bet. Sorry, distracted on that question there. But how much money can a tinter installer earn per day or hourly? It really depends on your skill and what value you provide, and also what kind of business the shop is bringing in. Believe it or not, the most money that I make is like, I make more money by and large tinting for other places that aren't tint shops. So there's shops that bring in tint kind of as a secondary thing, and so their daily is not dependent on the numbers that brings in, so it leaves you a little bit more margin. But a tint shop is also going to bring you more work by and large. So if you're on commission, it's tough to say really. I've seen people get like, I saw a discussion on this where people are talking about 20% commission. I was getting at a dedicated tint shop 40 to 45%, depending on the place, and then mobile I was doing 50 to like 55%. So, but now my margins are better now that I'm on my own too. So, like, what should I? Basically, in a year salary type deal at most shops, an average tinter will make probably 55 to 65,000 per year. Depending on the value that they bring to the shop and how busy the shop is. So I've seen some really bad shops and tinters don't get paid shit, and I've seen some really good shops where tinters get paid much better. So that varies a lot. So you also have to be able to kind of shop around a little bit, figure things out, figure out your area. Like if you're just not in a busy area, it's going to be very hard to make a lot more money, but the living cost may be down. So by and large, an average tinter, I would say, can make pretty quickly 50 to 60,000 in a year. Like Patrick did it. He was only tinting for like a year before he started making that amount of money. So, and then working up from there is really, usually you get the best pay raises by jumping from one company to another that is really looking for a skilled tinter. And that can be kind of shitty to the shop that you're working at. That's also business, so it's just kind of how it goes. And they're doing full vehicles. Oh, I started doing full. Mike says I started doing full vehicles for 140. Installed 2 years later. Now I'm over 200 a full vehicle. Now I'm tinting for all the dealerships in my town. Boom. Well done. That is awesome. That's actually really inspiring because I'm going to. Things are a little rocky at the shop that I shot the video at. So I'm probably going to be pulling some stuff into my garage finally, and I'm gonna shoot a little bit better because I'm pretty sure I can make some convincing videos that make it a little bit more inspiring, but it's an apartment garage. So as a skilled installer, yeah, I can go into a retail shop and pull in 280 retail on a job. Um, and I can probably do the same thing out of my garage. I just don't have a lot of sales experience, and I just kind of want to get some jobs in just to kind of get going. And then once I'm getting comfortable with working with people like directly, as far as like at home style stuff, it's just something I've never done before. I know I can do it. I just like need to get my feet wet with it, and I'll get the handle of it very quickly. Just shoot a little low maybe, and then really get a feel for it and work up from there. So I can. That's really cool though. Glad you said that. That's a really encouraging comment. Um, Keep bumping your price until you start hearing your price is too much. Yeah, until you start seeing that level. Like I've seen a lot of people stay really cheap, and then they always stay cheap because that gets the business in. And sometimes that starts to lock you in at a really cheap price, and then you just start hustling for less. And then you start getting known as the cheap guy in town because there's actually some interesting things that I've seen as far as people and perception about a shop. Like if somebody calls with a halfway decent car and they're wondering what your shop is and they quote you the lowest price that you've heard and you're just shopping around, I've heard a lot of people just go, "Eh, okay, thanks, bye." Because like it's just all about price at that point. They don't feel comfortable. They don't want to get the worst job in town, and worst job is usually associated with cheapest. That's not necessarily always the case. They could be installing a cheap film for sure, but it might be a quality install. Who knows? So guy just might be selling himself short, and then next thing you know, you get a lot of more difficult older cars, and it's just you have a bad time. Um, what does a shop owner make a year, and can you make 100,000 easy? Definitely not easily. A shop owner, ooh, I've seen a lot of shop owners not make very much because it's running a tint shop is a very difficult thing. Tinters are very hard to keep in a tint shop. It's you gotta have the right kind of environment. You gotta have a very promising future, and even if they get paid well, a lot of times employees hit a cap and they want to grow, and then they've basically hit their limit there. The shop's not growing anymore, and you kind of feel stuck. And so you want to just keep going, and so then shop loses a tinter. Tinting is a very skilled trade, and a lot of shop owners seem to undersell that, especially when they don't know how to tint. And that's really, really unfortunate. So on the one hand, it beats up the market, and then it's just you need some quality sales guys in front of a tint shop to really make it successful. So it's definitely not easy, but it's definitely obtainable. I think it's a lot more obtainable if you can stick to your own pricing and you know what kind of value that you can provide, and then you also are good about hunting down the work and selling yourself. You have to be able to do both. You have to back up your skill, like you have to be able to sell the whole package altogether. So I'm really confident now when I walk into pretty much any place to tint a car. I know what I can do, and I know when they're wasting my time, and I know if they're wasting my time, I gotta cut them loose at this point because I've just been around a lot of places. We tried working with it. We tried seeing what could work. Sometimes it starts to pay off, and sometimes it's just a flat waste of your time. Next thing you know, it's another year later, and like I said, it can be a waste of time. So, yeah. So to sum that up, no, it's not easy. You can make 50 to 60 pretty easily. Working up from there can be difficult because it's just tint jobs usually average probably in the range of $200 to $300. So break that all down per car, and just you're not going to stay busy all the time. You get really busy, then you get really slow. Winter's a thing. So you make a lot more money in the summertime, and then you make less money in the wintertime by and large. So if you can just if you can get a good group of people and they're all just willing to just work it out really hard and keep them busy and everything, then yeah, you can have a very successful shop, but I've seen a lot of people fail at it too. Alrighty. Whoa, we were running like 20 minutes over right now. I was going to keep this at an hour and look where we're at. So I'm going to go ahead and just answer one or two more things just real quick, then I got to end it for tonight. I own a 2008 Mazda Tribute. I want to wrap 5% in the back, 15 or 20 in the front. Can I use Walmart's Black Magic tint? Yeah, man, you can use whatever you want. I don't know how long it's going to last you, but you can definitely use it. I don't know how well it shrinks, but by and large, any cheap film can be installed. The biggest issue with it is it's going to fail quicker than a quality film. So a year down the road, it's probably not going to look the same as when you freshly installed it, and that's what really distinguishes a quality film from a cheap film. Like, it's the coloring, you can see through it. It's real cheap to make dyed polyester, but to make dyed polyester that's not going to change colors, not going to bubble, not going to fade, that's a lot more expensive. What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to put stickers on windows. Yeah, definitely not. It just kind of fell into the business. But what I did like was being able to incorporate the whole video and YouTube. I'm a big technology geek, so it was just kind of my way to put a little bit of a spin on it back in the day, because I've been tinting for 3 years. Then I started making YouTube videos. I really like YouTube, really like just technology in general, so cameras, stuff like that, and then just kind of went from there. And then I really got involved in the community, and then it's there's a lot of little details behind it, and I don't know, I just kind of really got into everything about it the more I got involved with it. Definitely just didn't want to be a tinner right off the bat. I was actually going to aviation mechanics school at the time, so I don't mind replacing it within a year or two. I'll just rip it off and put on a new piece. Yeah, that can be a pain in the ass, though. Just heads up on that one. Tint removals, if they peel off easy, then no problems. But if they leave glue behind, that's when they're a pain in the ass. They will get all crispy, they'll get all thin, they'll flake apart, and then it's like, to get it removed to the shop, we'll charge $160 to $200 for, like, if it's an old removal, about about $200. But for a not so damaged removal, we'll probably charge about $160 for that. Shit sucks. So time consuming. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. This is another long live stream. I really appreciate all you guys hanging out with me. This was a lot of fun again. I'm not sure what next week's topic is going to be yet. I wasn't even sure what this week's topic was going to be yet until I started filming today, kind of. But Patrick, be sure to turn it. Couple things. This video, today's video and the live stream will be available on CertifiedTinner.com. I'm going to leave this live stream up for like the next 24 or 48 hours. Let it simmer, and then the recordings will be up on CertifiedTinner.com. We have a store there, so you can buy training tools and film, stuff like that. If you're interested, my Glass Aid tape is up there for sale. If you don't want to damage back windows when you cut them out, that type of thing. And anything else as far as that? Patrick's live stream, he will be on his channel 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. So be sure to turn into that. And I hope y'all have a good night. Thank you so much for tuning in again. And I will catch y'all next week.